How will the initial 5 Borderlands titles fare running on an Intel Arc A770 on Linux? Stay tuned to find out. Oh, and the machine the A770 will be installed in is an Intel system with a Core i5-13500 with 32GB of DDR4 3200 memory with a Western Digital SM770 NVMe SSD as the designated game drive. I'll be using openSUSE Linux, but if you want to try it, you can use any distro. If you're interested in getting up and running and/or gaming with openSUSE, check out the playlist dedicated to the topic on my channel's page. Well, without further delay, let's see how these games run on Linux using the Intel Arc A770. Okay, so first up is Borderlands Game of the Year, the first Borderlands. So to start off, we have some weirdness all over this Roland scene here. His gloved hand is lighter on the Arc, but then the 6700 XT playthrough just skips a whole portion of the cutscene for some reason. Oh, editing that was fun. Not really. Moving along. This first gun Roland has is just miserable. Good thing there's a weapon chest early on. I was kinda stuck with crappy guns in the A770 playthrough here, and I prefer scoped weapons anyway. My initial impression of Borderlands was that it was a multiplayer first game, where the game devs just sort of tacked on a storyline, but I learned while researching the development of the game recently that the game was sort of drastically rewritten storyline-wise, or at least the art style change influenced changes in the story. For instance, Roland was a white middle-aged ex-soldier who didn't talk much. But that changed, and the model used for that earlier Roland became Zed.
Thanks for opening her up again.
The name's Zed. They don't let me cut on folks anymore since I lost my license, so now I keep the med vendors around here up and...
Despite some hiccups in the cutscenes, the game manages to run adequately on the A770. Emphasis on adequately. The 6700 XT just cranks out all the frames. Hopefully, as Arc's drivers continue to improve, the A770 can close the performance gap with the 6700 XT in this title on Linux. I don't know how it runs on Arc on Windows.
Ow! My circle!
Critical hit!
So,
Now on to
you want hear
Borderlands
another
2,
story,
my favorite game of the series
One
by
where the very
far.
fate of Pandora hangs in the balance.
Not
If
much
not, too bad,
artifacting
I'm telling
in
you
this
anyway.
intro cutscene, so let's get to the gameplay.
Great. Another deadbolt hunter. Handsome Jack's been busy.
The main player's character coming to and sees a gregarious unicycle robot interact with a grave in an extreme environment. Looks oddly familiar.
Yes!
Howdy,
Now
partner.
I can get off this glacier. Claptrap, your metaphorical ship has finally come in. Allow me to introduce myself. I am a CL4P TP steward bot.
So once more, the 6700 XT appears to outperform the A770 in its ability to generate a higher frame rate. However, hold on to that thought through this expository montage.
Handsome Jack's downfall.
I don't know about this montage. I just kind of want things to follow, but I don't know if you, the viewer, appreciates that or just sees it as a waste of time. Could you tell me what you think in the comments? Also, like or dislike, and if you like my content, please subscribe.
The gun in the cabinet. Ah! It's very close.
Ah, the knuckle dragger battle. What's that? The 6700 XT's frame output has fallen under 280 frames per second. 205 frames per second seems drastic. 97! And Arc is holding steady relative to its previous frame rate, well over 100 frames per second throughout this transgression. At some points, the 6700 XT cranks out less frames than the A770. Okay, but this part...
Woohoo! If you would, retrieve my eye for me. Got my eye? Great! Now we just gotta find someone to put it back into me. Much as I'm sure you'd like to jam your fist into my skull, optic surgery is best. My pal Hammerlock in Liarsburg can fix me up.
Well, here's another battle through a bandit encampment. Let's see how it goes. First, Claptrap has to get this gate oh. The same thing happens here that happened in the Knuckle Dragger battle. It could be the environment, but it seems the AMD card cranks out the frames when the scene is empty and then drops to around the A770's frame rate when there's baddies in action. So, on to Borderlands the Pre-Sequel. No artifacts in the intro cutscene this time. I'm gonna skip it. The Pre-Sequel is a prequel to Borderlands 2, the prequel to a sequel. Borderlands 2 was such a good story that 2K and Gearbox decided to extend the Handsome Jack saga with a story that takes place before Borderlands 2. Here, not only do we get to see Jack rise to power, you're actually helping him, because, you know, the Vault Hunters in this Borderlands entry didn't see the red flags related to Jack's rampant narcissism. Another Borderlands game, and another start with Claptrap. Okay, here's some issues with the shaders going in and out here while playing with the Arc A770. And here's our first look at how Borderlands the Pre-Sequel performs on the A770 versus the 6700 XT. and the A770 is getting trounced. But does the 6700 XT's frame rate get bogged down in the action scenes like it does in Borderlands 2? This intro segment of the game is rather action-packed and isn't a slog like the first and second intros. I guess the game designers figure that if you made it to the pre-sequel, you're a pretty established fan, and you don't need too much hand-holding.
Or, you wanna wait? You're busy? That's cool. I'll just bleed over here internally for a while. Here, it's a super fun way to pass the time, but yeah, don't mind me. Just the guy who hired ya. Sorry, am I being passive-aggressive? My bad. That must be a symptom of almost done.
Here's our first taste of Jack's narcissism, and here's me taking my sweet time collecting useful items out of these crates. I played through Borderlands the pre-sequel, and personally, I didn't finish it. The pre-sequel was just too long, and it was a bit too grindy for me. This is just my opinion, and it might be different for you, but the endgame seems to require you to have done tons of side missions to level up adequately, and if you don't, it's unbeatable. Oh, and the endgame seems to be the song that never ends, or something. Boss after boss. The Borderlands series has a bit to say about the corporatization of society, and I guess with the endgame of the pre-sequel, the game devs wanted to make a statement about management structure in corporations. Oh, and to answer that question from before, no, the 6700 XT's frames aren't dropping in combat scenes. Here's the first major boss battle of the game, Flame Knuckle. Alright, Borderlands 3. So, the third Borderlands installment, but the fourth one. The third installment comes with its own benchmark. The benchmark always takes a while to start, and it always makes me worry it blew a VRM or something. But now, comparing them side by side, they seem to have started shortly one after the other. So, whoa, look at that frame time graph for the A770. Around 50 frames per second for the top art card, and 65 frames per second for the more mature 6700 XT. Ouch. The A770 dips under 50 frames per second here. Something's wrong with how the water is being rendered on the A770 here. I don't know what it is though. This benchmark is not friendly to the A770. If I have to call something cringe, it's gonna have to be the way the A770 is rendering the grass here.
We need more COV!
These prepackaged benchmarks are great because they should theoretically push a given card to the max in a given couple of minutes instead of you encountering something rough while playing the game a few hours in. They're also a great way to test if everything's working after you reinstall the OS or install a new graphics card or just bought a new graphics card and want to see if it works. Rough outing for the A770 here. Oh, and there's Tales from the Borderlands, and it's fine. It's not really a graphically intensive game. Telltale Games seems to normally cap their games at 60 frames per second to allow the games to run on a wide variety of machines. I'm willing to bet Tales from the Borderlands can run pretty well on a recent Intel iGPU. So, again, some interesting results playing games from the Borderlands franchise on Linux with my A770. Somewhat predictable given the drivers are in continual development, and some surprises as well. Overall though, the games are rather playable at 1440p with the A770, except for Borderlands 3. It seems Intel's Linux drivers need to cook a bit more to be able to handle that title. Otherwise, the A770 is generally capable at these games at frame rates of 120 to 144 Hz most of the time, at that. Alright, until next time.